You want to change. You want to be better. You want to be different. You've tried everything. You've made resolutions. You've read self-help books. You've watched motivational videos. You've gone to therapy. But nothing sticks. You always end up back where you started. Back to your old habits. Back to your old patterns. Back to being who you were. The problem is that you're trying to change without understanding the psychology of transformation. You're trying to change your behavior without changing your identity. You're trying to reach new destinations with old maps. Real transformation is not about willpower. It's not about discipline. Real transformation is about changing who you are at the core. In this video, I'm breaking down the psychology of self-transformation, the science behind real change, why most people fail, what actually works, and the exact steps to transform your life. Stay tuned. If psychology fascinates you, subscribe and hit the bell. We release brain science that changes your life every single week. Let's start with what self-transformation actually is. Self-transformation is not just behavior change. Changing your behavior is easy. You can force yourself to go to the gym. You can force yourself to eat healthy. You can force yourself to study. But without true transformation, you'll eventually stop. You'll go back to your old habits. Self-transformation is identity change. It's changing who you are at the core. It's changing your beliefs about yourself. It's changing your self-image. It's changing your sense of who you are. And when you change your identity, your behavior changes automatically. You don't have to force it. It becomes natural. Think about it. If you have the identity of a smoker, you will smoke. Even if you consciously decide to quit, your identity will pull you back. But if you change your identity to non-smoker, you won't want to smoke. You won't struggle with quitting. It becomes easy because it aligns with your new identity. Now let's talk about the stages of self-transformation. There's a model called the trans-theoretical model of change that describes how people change. There are 5 stages. Stage 1 is pre-contemplation. This is when you don't even realize you need to change. You're in denial. You don't see the problem. This stage is characterized by lack of awareness. Stage 2 is contemplation. This is when you realize there's a problem. You're thinking about changing, but you're not ready to commit. You're ambivalent. You see the benefits of changing, but you also see the costs. You're stuck between 2 options. Stage 3 is preparation. You've decided to change. You're taking small steps. You're gathering information. You're making plans. You're preparing yourself mentally for the change. Stage 4 is action. You're actively changing your behavior. You're working on new habits. You're practicing new patterns. You're putting in effort. This stage requires the most conscious effort. Stage 5 is maintenance. You've made the change. Now you're maintaining it. You're preventing relapse. You're consolidating your new identity. This stage is about making the new behavior automatic. Now let's talk about what actually drives transformation. Research on habit formation shows that it takes about 2 months to form a new habit. But that's if you're consistently practicing the new behavior. Most people underestimate how long change takes. They think they can change in a few weeks. Then they get discouraged when they haven't changed after a month. The key to transformation is identity. When you see yourself as the type of person who does something, you're more likely to do it. If you see yourself as a healthy person, you're more likely to exercise and eat well. If you see yourself as a creative person, you're more likely to create. If you see yourself as a confident person, you're more likely to speak up. So the first step in transformation is to decide who you want to be, not what you want to achieve, not what you want to do, but who you want to be. What identity do you want to have? The second step is to find evidence that you already have some of the qualities of that identity. If you want to be a confident person, find evidence of times you've been confident. If you want to be a creative person, find evidence of times you've been creative. This is important because your brain needs proof that this identity is possible for you. The third step is to practice being that person. If you want to be confident, practice doing confident things. If you want to be creative, practice creating. Every time you practice, you're creating neural pathways. You're strengthening the identity. The fourth step is to surround yourself with people and environments that reinforce your new identity. If you want to be a healthy person, surround yourself with healthy people. Join a gym. Spend time in health-focused communities. Your environment shapes your identity. Now let's talk about what prevents transformation. First, there's limiting beliefs. You believe you can't change. You believe you're too old. You believe you're too broken. You believe you're too damaged. These beliefs are stored in your subconscious mind, and they prevent transformation. Second, there's fear. Change is scary. The unknown is scary. You might fail. You might be judged. You might lose your identity. Fear keeps you stuck. Third, there's identity protection. Your current identity is safe. Even if it's painful, it's familiar. Change means letting go of who you are. That's terrifying. So you stay the same to protect yourself. Fourth, there's lack of support. Transformation is hard alone. You need people who believe in you. You need people who are also transforming. You need a community. Without support, most people give up. Fifth, there's lack of clarity. You don't know who you want to be. You don't know what transformation looks like. You're unclear on your direction. Without clarity, you can't move forward. Let me give you a real example. This is Michael. Michael was addicted to drugs for 10 years. He was homeless. He was hopeless. Everyone told him he couldn't change. He believed he couldn't change. But one day something shifted. He went to a rehabilitation program. He got clean. He started a new life. But here's the thing. Michael didn't just quit drugs. Michael changed his identity. He went from addict to recovered. He surrounded himself with people in recovery. He found a community that reinforced his new identity. He found evidence that he could be different. He practiced new behaviors, and now he's been clean for 5 years. He's successful. He's happy. He's transformed. The difference was not willpower. Michael had been trying to quit for years using willpower. The difference was identity shift. When Michael saw himself as someone in recovery instead of someone addicted, everything changed. Now let's talk about the neuroscience of transformation. When you change your behavior repeatedly, you create new neural pathways. The more you practice the new behavior, the stronger the pathway becomes. The old pathway weakens through disuse. This is neuroplasticity. Your brain rewires itself based on repeated practice. But here's what's important. The old pathway doesn't disappear. It just weakens. So if you stop practicing the new behavior, the old pathway can become dominant again. This is why relapse is so common. People change their behavior for a while. Then they stop practicing. The old pathway becomes dominant again. and they fall back into old patterns. This is why transformation is not a one-time thing. Transformation is a practice. You have to keep practicing your new identity. You have to keep strengthening the new pathways. It becomes a lifestyle. Now, let's talk about the psychology of motivation. Most people think motivation comes first. You get motivated, then you take action. But research shows the opposite is true. You take action, then motivation follows. Action creates motivation, not the other way around. So if you're waiting for motivation to change, you're going to wait forever. You have to start taking action even when you're not motivated. You have to go to the gym even though you don't feel like it. You have to study even though you don't feel like it. You have to practice the new behavior even though you're not motivated. And here's what happens. Once you take action, motivation follows. You feel accomplished. You feel proud. You feel like you're making progress. And that creates motivation for the next action. So the secret is to lower the barrier to action. Make it easy to do the new behavior. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Schedule your study time. Put your healthy food front and center in your fridge. Make the new behavior the path of least resistance. Now let's talk about the role of identity in transformation. Your identity is the sum of all your beliefs about yourself. I am smart. I am lazy. I am confident. I am anxious. These beliefs are not objective truth. They're stories you tell yourself. And you believe them because you've seen evidence for them in your past. But here's the thing. You can change these stories. You can gather new evidence. You can practice new behaviors that contradict your old identity. You can create a new story about who you are. This is important because your identity shapes your behavior. If you have the identity of someone who is lazy, you will avoid challenges. If you have the identity of someone who is anxious, you will avoid social situations. If you have the identity of someone who is not smart, you will avoid learning. But if you change your identity, everything changes. If you have the identity of someone who is disciplined, you will take on challenges. If you have the identity of someone who is confident, you will seek social situations. If you have the identity of someone who is intelligent, you will pursue learning. So the key to transformation is to first decide who you want to be. Then gather evidence that you already have some of those qualities. Then practice being that person. Then surround yourself with people and environments that reinforce that identity. Here's what I want you to understand about transformation. You are not broken. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to evolve. You just need to become the next version of yourself. And the good news is that you can. You're not stuck. You're not beyond change. You have the capacity to transform. But transformation requires commitment. It requires practice. It requires community. It requires clarity. It requires action. It's not easy, but it's possible. And the results are worth it. If this video resonated with you, please like it, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you miss future videos on psychology and personal transformation that actually change your life. Next week, I'm breaking down the psychology of identity, how you became who you are, and why changing it is so hard. Don't miss it. See you in the next one.